should be good to go.
Hey friends, it's Dr. Erica. We are back for another fun building project because all week we're going to be building things. I'm super excited about it. You guys got to have a little watching of Tiny Dancer in there, and if you have fallen in love with Tiny Dancer as much as we have, I think there might be a link to a PDF where you can actually dress Tiny Dancer.
Yeah,
this is what's happening in our house.
It's in the description.
It's in our description of YouTube, so check out the description if you want some awesome Tiny Dancer printouts. We are totally obsessed. We have some amazing Tiny Dancer projects going on. And it's awesome, and in fact, in this picture, if you download it, you might be able to see Tiny's tiny legs starting to come in. Tiny is our first tadpole to get a leg, which is amazing. So we're gonna do that every day now, just like, 5-10 minutes or so before we open up live, we'll have it on Tiny Dancer. So you guys can watch Tiny Dancer. You could make some observations about Tiny Dancer and all that kind of fun stuff. All right, so we're gonna put Tiny over here, and Tiny will join us in our Zoom classroom today, along with the beetles, who are our mealworms that are grown, and our caterpillars that we don't have a clever, catchy name for yet.
We could ask for our names.
Yeah, if you have a clever, catchy name for our caterpillars, give it over to us, because we need something. Caterpillars is not cool enough. And they are growing so quickly that I feel like we're only gonna have caterpillars for like a week. It's kind of crazy. If they're new here, I just want to say welcome. Don't forget, you can come every day. You can come one day a week. You can come when it sounds interesting. There's no pressure from us, no guilt. We try not to build on things so that you're not actually missing out, right? You can't get behind in our classes because there is no behind. It's just whatever we're doing that day. And also, if you're new, make sure that you follow our page on YouTube. We're on also Facebook and Instagram, so you can get all the notifications, find out what we're doing, and see our projects coming up. And if you want to support us, we have a Patreon page at patreon.com/RosieResearch, and that just helps support us, and it gives you all of the cool downloads and all of sort of like the supplies for the week and the projects for the week, so you can actually plan for it. So I know there's a lot of kids who are probably here already. If you are here and you want to shout out, make sure you type your name in our comments box. And before we get to our shout outs, we're going to talk about what we need today so that if you don't have the stuff you need, you can run and grab it. Pretty simple today because we are going to engineer a bubble solution, and we're also going to make our own bubble wands, and we can make some cool geometric shapes, and we'll learn about that stuff. So what we'll need for our bubble solution, we need some water. You need some dish soap. Does not matter what kind. I know that Joy works really, really well, but we use generic and it works just fine. And you'll need corn syrup. If you don't have corn syrup, you could use something that's just like really thick and syrupy. The reason why we want the corn syrup is really because of how thick and syrupy it is. And actually, later today, you might have this ingredient because I know hand sanitizer uses it, and we all ran out of hand sanitizer a few weeks ago, and a lot of people started ordering things to make their own. So you might actually have this stuff called vegetable glycerin. And I found a recipe. We're gonna make 2, and if you don't have it right now, that's okay. You can just see it, and then if you wanna make it, you guys can order some vegetable glycerin. But I found one that makes super long living bubbles, and they might actually also bounce. So we're gonna try that one. And then you'll also need jars to put your bubble solution in, which is pretty important. And then to make your bubble wands, you need some sort of wire or straw, like pipe cleaners work, straws work. I have floral wire right here. You could use coat hanger wire for it. Just something that you can bend and move to make it. And then I've got a couple sticks that we can put those on so we can, feels more like the bubble wands that you might get inside of a thing. And then I'm also gonna make one that makes a super big bubble, which unfortunately we can't really test inside of our house. But I'll show you how to make this, and you can use it with your bubble solution. And you'll be able to use that with the bubble solution with the corn syrup. So you don't even need the vegetable glycerin to make super big bubbles. It'll be lots of fun. And then scissors to cut your wires and whatnot. And I think that's about it. We do have a measuring cup, but you can sort of try to eyeball it if you want to. Yeah.
All right.
All right. So the first thing that we're gonna need to do is make some bubble solution. And I'm going to give you 2 recipes for bubble solution. One will use the cornstarch and one will use the vegetable glycerin. And we can compare them. In fact, this is a really awesome project that you could do. You could change some of the ingredients and test your bubble solution. So you could see if maybe adding baking soda makes your bubble solution better. Maybe it doesn't. And you could test and you could see which one bubbles better. I think we have a question.
Not quite yet.
Oh.
We just have to admit, we have to acknowledge that Kaya is here.
Oh, hi, Kaya!
And
Yay.
I'm betting that Millie and Lila are here.
Millie and Lila are totally here. I'm just going to say hi. Hi, Millie and Lila. Can't believe we forgot to check the Facebook or the Patreon.
And George and Henry thinks that we should name the caterpillar Fatty.
All right, little fat dude and fatty.
Yeah.
We have a theme going on, so that's cool. So for our first bubble recipe, you can make as much or as little as you want. And the way that we can deliver recipes like that are looking at the amount of parts. So this recipe uses 6 parts water, 2 parts soap, and 1 part of corn syrup. So you really have to decide how big is 1 part going to be, and then you do 1 of those for this, 2 of those for soap, and 6 of those for water. So for example, we are probably going to use a half of a cup. Gotta check my corn syrup there. A half of a cup as a part. So 6 halves of a cup would be 3 cups. So I'm going to start with 3 cups of water in this one. Zoop. Revise it. Uh-oh.
Do we get it back?
Are we back? Okay. So we're revising to a 1/4 cup of a part because I'm a little worried our jar will not hold it all if we have a half a cup. So 6 quarters, 4 quarters is 1, and then we have 2 quarters left over, which is a half. So we're gonna have 1.5 cups of water.
Yep.
So we got our 1.5 cups of water there. And then I'm using 2 parts of soap. So our 2 parts of soap, again, if generic is totally fine. When you read all the online stuff, it'll be like, you have to use Joy. Generic works pretty well. Joy works a little better. So if I'm doing 2 1/4 cups, that's the same as a half a cup. So I'm gonna do a half a cup of soap. And I'm going to pour that in here. Now, water can make bubbles. We've all done this. We've blown bubbles in our soda or our milk, and it's like amazing. But you might notice those bubbles actually don't last very long. They certainly don't really fly off into the air like soap bubbles do. And that's because water holds onto itself really tightly. It has a really high surface tension. And so it's like kind of like this really thick skin, but it also evaporates really easily. So it makes the bubbles really brittle. And then when it evaporates, our bubbles also pop. So what the soap does for us is it actually makes our bubbles a little stretchier. It reduces the surface tension so it's not as brittle. And then it also traps water inside. So soap has, you might remember this from a little bit ago, soap has 2 parts to it. Its head loves water. It's called hydrophilic. Loves water. Its feet hate water. They have a fear of it, so we call it hydrophobic. And so what happens in the bubble is you have all of the soap bubble heads pointing to a really thin layer of water, and then another set of soap bubbles going up, or soap pieces going up that way with their heads in. So the water is sort of sandwiched. It's like a soap, water, soap sandwich, and that actually prevents it from drying out too, which is why some of our bubbles are a little bit longer lived. However, if we add the corn syrup, it makes our water even harder to evaporate. So it will make it last longer. And we're going to use 1 part of corn syrup, which here will be a 1/4 of a cup of corn syrup.
How much parts water?
It's 6 parts water, 2 parts soap, like a liquid dish soap, and then 1 part of corn syrup. And you're going to gently mix this all up. I'm going to hand it off to Isabella to mix up for us.
Gently.
And we're going to do it gently, and you can already see actually how thick that corn syrup is on the bottom because we've got like a layer, kind of like when we made those density columns. So now the other one that we're going to try to make doesn't use water at all. So one of the reasons why our bubbles pop is that the water inside that soap sandwich evaporates, and then you have like nothing there. If you have nothing there, you can't have a bubble. In theory, if we don't use water, it'll take way longer to evaporate, and you should have super long lasting bubbles. In fact, there is a scientist who maybe in like early 2000s made a soap bubble last for a year. What lasted for a year? How cool is that? Yeah, you're gonna do this one. So to make this longer soap bubble idea, it's different. It's gonna be, let's see, 4 parts, I got it on here, 4 parts of vegetable glycerin, 2 parts of soap, and 1 part of cornstarch. No water. We're gonna see how that works. This should be bouncy bubbles. This is something that chemists do all the time. We engineer things to fit our needs. If we want a bubble that pops quickly, we're probably not gonna use this one because we've talked about how it wouldn't evaporate and then it wouldn't pop. So I'm gonna use 4 parts of vegetable glycerin, and my parts are a 1/4 cup still. So I'll do 1 full cup of vegetable glycerin right here. And we're gonna pour this one in. This is the one that George is gonna stir up for me. You can see how thick this is. And I'm gonna do 2 parts of soap again. Oop, that's not the right lid. Is that the right lid? It must be. All right, I'm gonna do 2 parts of soap. So 2/4 is gonna be a 1/2 cup of soap again. So we'll get a 1/2 cup of soap. This one's gonna be really, I'm kind of interested in this one. This is gonna be so thick. Yeah, I don't know about this. It's gonna be so thick. Oh, look at that. The density of the vegetable glycerin is way higher than that of the soap.
Look at that.
If you were with us for Pirate Week, we learned all about density and how things float.
So
And I'm gonna use a 1/4 cup of corn syrup.
what's the difference between glycerin and vegetable oil?
Glycerin is, I don't know the full answer. It's a different part of, I don't know the answer. I know they're not the same. Because if you look at oil, it's like not nearly as thick. Ooh, that's a great question. We'll have to look that up.
So what's this new recipe? 4 parts?
So this is 4 parts of glycerin, 2 parts of soap, and then 1 part of corn syrup.
Whoa.
And Georgia is going to be my gentle mixer for this one.
Whoa, half.
As we do this.
Like, look at that. Half.
I know, look at that. That's cool. All right, so as we're mixing this, I want to talk about the beauty of soap bubbles. Who here, and I'm saying this to you guys too, has seen a soap bubble? Me.
Maybe.
Is it like one color?
Yeah.
Really? I've never seen, have you seen a single color? What do you see?
I see like partly rainbow and partly yellow.
Yeah, and like the rainbow changes, right? So what I'm really interested in is how the rainbow looks between this solution with water and the solution with vegetable glycerin. Because what makes the rainbow is the thickness of our soap, water, soap sandwich. So if I have a lot of water in my sandwich, I have a different color of piece to that bubble than if I have very little. And so what you see when you're seeing all those rainbows is you're actually seeing the difference in thickness of the soap bubble, which is really cool. You're seeing it on a nanometer scale. What? So cool. But I'm curious because a lot of what we see changing in that rainbow is because the water is evaporating. So in this one, we don't really have much water to evaporate. So I'm curious if these are more like a single color bubble, or if you see still a whole array and the sandwich is always changing thicknesses throughout, or not. I don't know. And to parents or kids, you should tell your parents, on our adult science night, which is Thursday at 8:30 p.m. Pacific time, we are going to make rainbow paper using the same idea, using clear nail polish. So it's gonna be really fun.
I wanna do.
We'll learn unicorn paper, and then the parents can share it with the kids on how to make it. All right. So now that we have these guys, and George, I'm going to ask you to mix it a little bit more because I see that the orange of my soap is still separated
All right, let's
from
pause
the
for a second.
clear. Oh, George's
All right.
tired.
So
Yeah, Bella's going to do it for us.
Can I use this one?
we
What do
have
you got for
Kaya
questions?
is
Actually, I
asking.
want to.
We have canola oil as opposed to vegetable glycerin. I think that won't work.
You could try.
Try.
So what I would say is that you can try and we could compare what we find. So this is actually a great science experiment. We'll have one with corn syrup, we'll have one with glycerin. If Kaya does it, we'll have some with oil. Maybe you have another idea that you would want to use that you think would help make bubbles.
And just make sure you pay attention to what you use.
Yeah, so you probably either want to write it down or make a good mental note so that when we're in Zoom, you could share. Like, maybe if we have oil as a base, it doesn't even work. Maybe we're making bubbles that are filled with oil, so we have a oil soap sandwich where it's their legs together instead of their heads together. Because remember, soap, the legs hate water, so it loves oil. I don't know. I'm actually curious. I've never tried that before, Kaya. So I think that's a great question and a great option to try.
She says, all right.
Okay, so we have our awesome bubble solution, and hopefully between all of you guys we have a different variety of bubble solutions. Of course, now we want to make a bubble wand. So you can make a bubble wand out of almost anything. What it needs is it needs to be sort of like smooth. So this is like florist wire, it's very smooth. And then you want it to sort of be bendable so you can make your own types of shapes. And you can make any shape you want. So right now I have like a U. And what I could do is to get a handle, I could just twist some of this. Yeah, Isabella, you can cut yourself a piece too. I could twist some of this to make a handle.
And that's just a piece of bendable wire.
This is just a piece of floral wire, and you could use coat hangers, you can use pipe cleaners, you can use straws that you tape together.
That's a lot, though.
All sorts of things. We have a ton of florist wire, so there, we don't need to worry. In fact, I'm going to show you guys also how to make a giant bubble maker, and that even we're using paracord for ours. So you can even use rope if you want to use rope. Here's a piece for you, Georgia. So once you have this twisted up as much as you'd like, and that's going to be like my handle piece, you can sort of shape it however you want. If you want to make a little heart, you can make a heart. You could change your shape whenever you want. You can change it into like, I don't know, maybe a hand. Ooh, I can make a tadpole. I could make Tiny Dancer. Can I make Tiny Dancer? I don't know. I don't think it's going to look like Tiny Dancer. I'm not even going to try. But we can make anything that you want to make. You can make it look cool. You could make doubles by twisting it like this. So you have a bubble that comes here and a bubble that comes there.
So they're making their bubble wand sculpture, right?
Yeah, so you're making a bubble wand sculpture. And right now we're just doing 2 dimensions. And the way you can test your bubble solution, you just put your guy in, and when you pull it out, I have a nice little surface. So you probably might not be able to see this, but I have a nice little surface of soap right here. And it doesn't carry a lot of soap, so the bubble wands you buy in the store, they actually have like ridges in here to like hold more soap so it can make it more. But you could blow a bubble. And if it doesn't work quite right away, we can change our wand. Oop, there's one. And we could see how we want to do it. So like this one doesn't like to go, and it's maybe because it's a little wide. So maybe if I twist this piece, then we could try and do that.
I don't want to make
Okay.
a heart.
Ooh, so here are some from this solution. And then we could also try
Wow.
one from this solution. Is this one all mixed up? This one's still, oh my gosh, it's so thick. So thick.
You should use the circle side.
All right, I'm gonna mix this. I'm gonna get, ooh, you know what? I'll twist a handle for you, and then you can shape the heart. How's that
We already
sound?
have some success. It looks like Megan's bubbles are huge.
Yes, I love it. We're gonna have some really big bubbles, especially when we use the rope. And I'll just show you guys how to use the rope because you'll notice that we are inside. Maybe not the best place to make giant bubbles, but we have used this bubble solution and ropes to make bubbles that were so big that our girls wore ski goggles and then like went into the bubbles. It was kind of amazing.
Wait, we did?
Speaking of bubbles that are so big, there's a person, I like stumbled across this the other day. There's a person who has made a bubble that was 9 feet tall and 157 feet wide. So like imagine the side of just like a house or like the side of a trailer truck. And there was a bubble that was that big. What? Somebody's also made a bubble that fit like, I think it was more than 100. Was it more than 100? It might have been more than 100 people inside the bubble that was like, each person had to be more than 5 feet tall. Like seriously, if you Google bubble world records, you're gonna be like mind blown. It's super amazing. All right, we're still getting this guy stirred up because I still see it's not really sort of all together. And one thing that will do that the best is time. So your bubble solution might actually work better for you in an hour or two than it does right now. But that doesn't mean we can't play with it right now. So we're gonna keep stirring it. See Georgia, I still see like little currents in here. But then we can try this one too. We can see what this one's like. Let's see what we got here. Ooh, but it doesn't pop very well. It's very thick though. It kind of stays on here longer.
Maybe slower blow.
So maybe a slower blow. So much with bubbles. Isabel's gonna try blowing that one, and that's fine. And while they're blowing that one, oh yeah, see, it was how I blew it. I want to show you another really cool thing that you can do with your bubble solution and your wire or your pipe cleaners or your straws, whatever you might be using. Yeah, you can try the other one too. And that is, we can make shapes with this. And this is a little tricky, it takes a little bit of time, but you could make a cube out of this wire. And anytime that you have something with like a bubble solution or like a liquid, a surface, it's always going to try to use the least amount of that as it can for whatever shape you put in it. So this is a really cool way in geometry to find out sort of the minimum, it's called the minimum surface area for something. And you can find that out literally by making a bubble, which is really cool. It's also actually why all bubbles, once they're released from something, are a sphere. And you might remember that when we made those cool planetary sort of floating blobs of oil, our blobs of oil were circles too. And remember, that was because something that doesn't like water, it was like trying to reduce the amount of stuff that it didn't like that was touching the water, and it made a sphere because that was like the least amount. Or like when we're in a group and we scrunch together the most, we make a circle. And in 3 dimensions, that circle turns into a sphere, which is why all bubbles turn into spheres when they are released. But I'm gonna make mine smaller. I need to make sure that it fits into the mouth of this jar. And this takes a little bit of time. So we got some bubbles coming. We're gonna make I'm gonna try to make a little tiny cube by putting these pieces together. And then I can show you guys what the minimum surface area of a cube actually is. And mathematicians could find this out by doing the math, but we can find out by playing with bubbles, which I think is just way cooler. All right, so I got sort of a bottom square. I'm gonna kind of come down here. Ooh, I might not have enough wire. Maybe we'll make like a pyramidal triangle. Is that a word? No. We need somebody who's done their geometry. I need Anne. Anne would know. Teacher friend Anne would know. She would know what it's called.
Maybe one of our classmates.
Maybe one of our classmates know, yeah. What is a triangle that has the triangular top, but it's all out of square faces? A cubic triangle?
Rhomboid? No. Oh, when it's all equal.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna do a triangle just for time's sake.
Mama, I got a big one.
Rowan says that he's made a bubble that does not pop.
Nice job, Rohan. So I'm curious, did you do it with water or did you do it with vegetable glycerin? I'm curious what was used for that. I'm gonna need a little bit more, and I can add on extras without a problem. So that works just fine. So I'm gonna cut myself a little bit more. And I'm gonna attach it just through some twisting right here.
Mine doesn't fit.
Uh-oh.
Make it long.
Isabella's awesome thing does not fit. I know, that's the tricky part right there. All right, so here is, what just happened? I gotta go on this side, like this. And we're gonna swoop it through here. All right, I'm curious, did Rohan tell us what his is made of?
We haven't heard yet.
Okay, I'm really curious what his is made of.
Whoa.
A bubble that hasn't popped. Good job, Rohan, that's really cool. All right, I'm gonna smush this so it sort of stays in place a little bit for us. So I've got this sort of, hang on. There we go. I've got this like little triangle here that we've got going on, and we can take this and put it inside of our bubble solution, and we can see what it looks like, and it's not gonna look quite what you might think. So it's very interesting. It has some planes. It sort of comes together very quickly, and then there's these little planes where it all meets in the center. We just popped aside, that's okay. We'll add some more solution to it.
Can we make the big bubble blower and then
Yeah.
can I go outside?
We're gonna make a big bubble blower in a little bit. We'll show people. So it's really cool. You can see how the smallest surface area is not actually sort of wrapped around the shape. It goes into the shape, which is really
It
neat.
doesn't look like
And you can see cool colors in there because of that thickness of that soap water soap sandwich. And it's kind of a fun way to see. And you can make any sort of shape you want, and you'll always see something similar to this, but you'll always see that minimum surface area of that geometric shape that you made, which is really cool. So you can make some of those too.
Bubble.
And
Oh,
then,
wait, nope, it popped.
as promised, let's learn how to make the giant bubble maker. So we're not going to use this one inside, but I'm going to show you how to do it inside. You really need 2 sticks. Doesn't need to look like this. You could go outside and grab 2 sticks from around your house, or maybe there's a park nearby. So you just need 2 sticks. And then you need a piece of rope. We're using paracord, but like a rope. The nice thing is it'll soak up some of that solution. And what you're going to do is on one stick, you're going to tie your rope around one stick, like this. Really good. It's not super good yet. I totally understand that. But you're also going to tie it to the other piece. So it's going to make a nice big loop. So we're going to make this into a nice tied piece, like this. I'm just going to tie it in. Maybe I should have tied that first. That might have been easier, friends. Especially with our paracord is fraying a little bit. If you have paracord like us, you could also, with the help of your parents, you could use a lighter to melt it together. Paracord is a plastic, so it would then make it so that knot doesn't come undone later. But we can tie this part into a knot. And so now I have this nice loop. And I could keep tying it. But I have a nice loop, and then what you will do is you'll put this big loop inside your bubble solution. Zoop, like that. You're going to let it soak it up a little bit. You got to make sure this top part of the stick is all the way down. You're going to put your other stick in there too. And your other stick is going to be like your chopstick. It's going to open it up. So when you come out, you're going to open it up, and it'll make a really big bubble. And then you can sort of move it along the air. Here's the trick though, if you want your big bubble to release, is you have to close it as you're doing it. So you might open it and this big bubble is forming, so it's like engulfing Isabella's head.
Mama, look at the
Before it pops, you're gonna close it, and that will sort of pinch off the bubble, and then it will float in the air for you.
Can I do that?
And then you will put it back in to get more stuff, and then you'll again use your chopstick. As you come out, you can bring it out, and you can also sort of do like something like this, and it'll make your bubble long, and it'll do this until it's all by itself, and then it'll start to form a nice big sphere. Although with the really big bubbles, you will likely see an oval form instead of a sphere, and that's because gravity is sort of pulling it down, which is really cool. Oh my gosh, Georgia just got a really big bubble going on, which is cool, which gives me a lot of hope for this one outside. So this one is definitely an outside thing. In fact, this solution is really an outside type of solution as well. And then you can also use that solution. We'll see the one with the water versus the one with the glycerin. I don't actually know which one will work better, but I'm really excited to see. And hopefully you can make some fun shapes and really check out sort of how you can make multiple bubbles at once. Or can you make one really big bubble? Can you make a bubble blower that blows bubbles inside of bubbles? That sounds tricky. Could you make a bubble blower that makes a bubble chain? These are all things you could try to do with your pipe cleaners or your straws or your wire as challenges, because those are things that people have done. In fact, somebody has made a bubble blower that blew 12 bubbles inside of each other. So like bubble, 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 bubble. I can't even imagine how cool that must look. It must look super duper cool. Also, I don't really know how they count that. Seems really difficult to count it. Even with an image, I feel like that would be hard and tricky. My girls are clearly already outside because they were like, bubble juice and homemade bubble wands, we're on it, which is awesome. That is what science is all about. Having fun and enjoying your time together. Do we have questions about any of this stuff? Or shall we head on over into Zoom?
We can head to Zoom.
Awesome. So we will head on over into our Zoom classroom. If you don't know our Zoom stuff, after all of our classes, we hang out and eat lunch. We watch Tiny Dancer. We check out our little fat dude and fatty caterpillars. We'll check out our mealworms. You guys can ask questions and we share projects, and sometimes I get to see everybody's kitty cats, which is amazing. I've met everybody's dogs. It's pretty awesome little community that we're building. If you want the link, you can go over to our Patreon page. You can support us. It's every week that you support us. It's like as low as $1. So it's like really not much that you got to put in there, and that gives you all the downloads and access into that Zoom classroom so you can have lunch with us. And we will see all of our friends who are there over on in Zoom shortly, so I can check it out. I'm guessing hopefully you all will be outside as you show me your bubble blowers, because I'm sure your parents won't want you inside for that. And just another call out to say, please like our pages, check out our YouTube channel, and check out our past projects if you're just joining us. And again, no pressure to come every single day, but we will be here tomorrow. Is tomorrow Oreo Towers?
Wednesday.
No, we're making paddle boats tomorrow.
Paddle boats tomorrow.
Which is going to be awesome. So we're going to engineer some boats that will move through the water. And that will be a lot of fun tomorrow. So that's what we're going to do tomorrow at 11:30 live with you guys. We will see you there. Thank you so much for joining us, and I will see my Zoom family over in Zoom. Have a good one.